Okay, so up to Ois Ches. So one of the shyness was that after having identified the 4 levels of Chagas, starting Lifnei HaTzimtzum, and then tracing Chagas all the way down to Nehi, which means basically Bia. So what is added with by the end of the Tefillah, what is this perfect menucha that you desire that is not already identified in the successive levels of menucha, which was Tiferes, in all of the levels described till now? Right, let's just remember the context. All of this is to explain why Dafki Yaakov Avinu, about whom the mitzvah of Shabbos is identified with Proteus, Vayichen Neged Ha'ir, Zerev Shabbos, Shem, so he gets the bracha Faratzta, a bracha without limit. And the question further was that Shabbos is Dafki about limits, Zman, etc. And then there was the Shaila also that why is the meaning of Menucha Dafke underscored when it comes to Shalosh Shudas? Adara, that Ike Menucha is Friday night. That's the contrast from the weekday to Shabbos. Now by Mincha, now we're talking about Menucha. So the answer to all this is now coming. It's now Isches. After Shendim Kol Madreges being called Dalada Madreges being Malakavim. So now there's identified all 4 levels in the Gilun Kavin of Chesed Gevurah Tiferes. Moishe, so continues. I'm just gonna, I guess, just mute everybody, but unmute yourselves to comment, please, etc. Mamshach Moishe Madrege Nali Yosef. He goes on to identify even a higher level. This is what it says at the end of the Tefillah, Menucha Shleima Shata Reitzeba, a perfect Menucha that you desire. What is this? This is the Pshitus in the Ein Sof, which is higher than Kavim, completely. V'hainu. We're talking about the Ein Sof. Ata Echad isn't the Ein Sof. However, when we identify, we speak of the Gimel Kavim Chesed Gevurah Tiferes Lifnei HaTzimtzum, in Meyois and B'chinas Ein Sof or B'chinas Pshitus, even though they are truly infinite and divested, Pshitus, Pasha, divested of any form, structure, and boundary. That's why the Tefillah connects or associates the Chagas with the unit of Echad of Pshitus. End of the day, nonetheless, how do you get there? Kavin, we're talking about Gimel Kavin. It's Chesed, it's one of the Tiferes. Ella, as we explained earlier, Shein Ba'achdos, V'Skalalos, they're one and integrated. But still, the fact that we can speak about some kind of description, no matter how sublime and potential and integrated and non-differentiated, and Gimel Kavin, but really it's Ein Sof, and he chose these 3, and that means to say that the Ein Sofness, that means to say is that the Gimel Kavin, Lifnei HaTzimtzum, what's not lost on it is, this is Chesed, but there's Ein Sof possibilities. This Chesed does not define him. It expresses him by his choice. That's not lost on the Chesed and the Gevurah Tiferes, and therefore it's totally scholarless. There's no claim. There's no claim to virtue per se in Chesed Gevurah Tiferes. So it's all him, and therefore it could be anything in Sof or no Gilui. It's not lost on the Gimel Kavim. That's what this Achtus means and this Galus means. Of course, it's present, but its presence not in any sense of inherent, intrinsic Maila. It's all the Eibishter. But there is, here the Eibishter has chosen to articulate Gimel Kavim. So what's Menucha Shlema? In Menucha Shlema Shataritze Bo. So this perfect Menucha that you desire, who Inyan Pshitus Ein Sof Shalom Ma'alim Yed Kavim Agamri. This is the Pshitus of Ein Sof beyond the whole notion of Kavim. Now, Inyan Zen Rumas Gam Betevis She'ataritze Bo. It could have said, you desire perfect peace. That you, the shin is that. What's the that? So there's a big remes in the shin. And that is the ois shin she'ato meire conveys al gimel hakavim k'noishen biyichod v'iskalulus. Now, what are we saying now? We're saying higher than what? Than Gimel Kavim. But you're saying Menucha. Menucha is Tiferes. Menucha is a Kav. It is. So, is it the Pshitus of Ein Sof for the man in Gimel Kavim? Or are we talking about Hashem's divinely chosen expression in Menucha? And if you're saying Menucha, which is Tiferes, implicit in that, there's already Chesed and Gevurah also. Let's go further. So this is the Insha'ato. So Itaka talking about Gimel Kavim. Let's read a bit. Moishe biyichod v'skalalos. They are in yichod v'skalalos. But didn't we say that before also? What's the difference? Let's read a few, get some oasis from the Maimon. The ois shin, looking to letter shin, which is also the first letter of the word shalom, which is the same idea. So Yeshlam Gimel Roshim, it has three heads. So three. So that's Shemoira Gimel Kavim. So we're talking about Gimel Kavim. However, the Gimel Roshim Ois Achas, it's one letter. Hainu, we're going to read, just get read till the end of the Ois and then hopefully it'll gel, we'll understand it. Hainu Gimel Kavim Commission the Yichud V'Skalamos. Because the ato, and then, not because, sorry, Nucha Shlema She'ato. So he now is addressing this word She'ato. First the Shin. Shin is what? Where there are Biskalos, all three strokes form one letter. Ato hu kav chesed, eich shenikra kvar b'shem chesed b'chinas kav. As we said before, Ata means Gidlo, you're revealed. That's already a kav. Now put the two together, She'ata. Ata stam is the first dargel if the Atzim we spoke earlier. Now we're going even deeper, bottom line to the Etzem, to the Atzmizdike dargel, where it's She'ata. Meaning, Shin v'ata b'teva achas, the Shin and the Ata in one word, Hainu b'chinas Ato, shu b'chinas HaKavim. So the one hand was saying, Kavim. He puts the Ato in, I'm not sure if the word Ato, which he puts there, you see, kind of in with breaking up the letters, if implied in that is the Gimel Kavim, I don't know, Aleph Tafeh, it's possible, I don't know. Akoponim, not sure. At any rate, seems so. Shahu B'chinas HaKavim, that's already Kavim. But Vashihu B'chinas Yichod Iskalus HaKavim, Shem Beis Afachim, so we're talking opposites here. And then Ruke Echad is said as one. Bottom line, the Hoyre is to indicate, here comes the Nukud, this is the Atzmizdike Darge. שיש בכיל מדרגה, there's a מדרגה, אשר לגביה נחשבים ייחוד הקווים וגילוי הקווים, בהשוואה אחס ממש. Let's look at these words carefully. There's a darga with a gilui hakavin, first yichud hakavin, where they're all one, and manifest, and then gilui hakavin, manifested each one in its own expression. It's all equal. Where pshitus and ischalkos are equal, or bli gvul and gvul, or I speak Kali here, but bli gvul and gvul. Hainu, that's begin as pshitus the Ein Sof Shalamayim Megede Kavan Legambri. This why? Because it draws on a level that's completely beyond. Prinas Menucha Shleima Shatareitzibah. So what are we left with then? What's the Dargish Atareitzibah? What do you want? The Eibishter wants the fusion of Avayin and Lekim, of Bli Gvul and Gvul. A level of the Shin and the Ata. Shin is what? Complete Achtos and Iskalavus. And Ata is already Gilo Yachesed. Shin is the Madrege of where all there is one, which means beyond any kind of Ischalkos. And Ata is already a particular Gilo. In one word, it means that it's all one, because that's the whole kavana. The ultimate kavana is that there should be the giloy of the bli gvul in gvul, the most impossible alliance, the most impossible in our world. The tachten should be in it revealed the alien should be alien. That's the kavana. Let's go further. And he concludes, the Tefillah concludes, they will recognize and they will know that the Lashon of the Tefillah. Even this level that's totally beyond Kavod altogether, that's the Shin. Nimshech as be Israel, Yidden draw down here the matter. How do we do this? How do we effect this unity of the true pshitos with Gilui? And Lefishi Sol, he said before, Lefishi Sol, all of the Machshava, Yidden rose up in Ibish's Machshava, the Gamla Mailam, Prince Machshava, now the Be'ed is even higher than Machshava. Chelik Lekam Malmam is the Dargis. So bottom line says, Yidden Moishe Shenatzmos, therefore Yidden have the koyach and have the ability to mamshich lemata, the atzmos, wherein is the fusion of bli gvul and gvul. We're using, this broad terms, but that's what that's the Indian. Quoting the Tefillah, Kemi Itrahim and Chasam. Your children will recognize and know that from you is their menucha, le'itcha, you unqualified completely. That's pshitasa insof, atzmos, pchinas menucha shleima. This is the menucha shleima she'ataroitz, she'ataroitz. We're kind of clear. Yes. Subtle reaction. A subtle reaction with it, it's many pshitos, but there is a hint of seichel, of ischalkos. Right? Perfect, good. Let's continue. More explanation. V'hinei, apshochas p'chinas pshitos ein tzor b'Yisrael. So when he says he pshitus the himself, it means the level he's speaking about now, namely Sh'ata Reitzibah. That's it. This comes because the neshama at its core, that's what it is. Shehi p'chinas hayechida. That's Yechida. Inyan hu, the Inyan is Kidua. There's different levels to the neshama, namely, b'chinas pnimi, there's conscious levels, and then there's transcendent levels. Makif gufa yeshnon beis madreges, and there's two levels, makif hakorav and makif harach. Right, we've counted this many times. A distant encompassing state, and a close. First, a close encompasser and a distant encompasser, as it were. And what is the parallel? The matter bringing levushu bayis, a garment and a house. The levushu makif hakorav, a garment transcends the person, wraps the person, surrounds him. However, it's measured, it's tailored to him. Sheshayich lekerches pnimi. It's a makif hakorav that relates to the kerches pnimi. Therefore, it is limited, tailored to the kerches pnimim. Square brackets. The square brackets is going to illustrate the deep association, the intimate association between the levush and kerches pnimim, notwithstanding that the levush surrounds, but still very much bound with the kerches pnimim. So much so, square brackets behind it. We're talking about a garment here, like that completely wraps the entire body, including the hair, like a shawl, that completely wraps the person, or something with a hood. So therefore, even though the levush is hiding the person, including his head, it's also levush. But what you need, a person can raise his hands above his head. So he's able to grasp it, literally, touch the hat and even reach beyond the hat. And I don't think it's not stressing reach beyond it, but the fact that the hand, which is a kerch pnimi, this is chesed, this is gevura, can reach to the upper garment means, and grasp it, obviously, which means is further illustrate that the levush is very intimately bound with the kerches pnimiyim. It's not a transcendent, but in a relative sense. What about bayis? Afilu bayis makif harochik. So bayis is a makif harochik. You don't measure the height of the people and then decide how high the ceiling is. It's a blanket universal height. Nonetheless, it has a shaykhs. What's the raya? The raya is there is a limit how high you're going to make the house. It's not going to be like in Hilchos Sukkah. It's 20 amas high. It's not considered a sukkah because you don't see it. You don't see it. It's too high. So even a house, it's not. You want the boundaries to be somewhat close to create this private space. So to create
bring in a giraffe.
Huh?
You can't bring in a giraffe into the house.
Yeah, okay. Some homes maybe giraffe, but there's a limit. You're right. But at that point, there's a limit. There's a limit. You don't want it to be becomes too grand, becomes too big and impersonal. You want your house, your room, to have an intimacy. It has to create a private, intimate space. So there's, even though it's transcendent, much more than the levush, and all kinds of people can enter it. All levels of people may enter it. Your clothing, no, only someone that is your size can wear it. But in your house, anybody can fit it. So that's true. On the other hand, it's not a bligvuldige thing. Adarabah, you want it, you want the ceiling to be, and the walls, etc., to be within sight, within the creating that you can feel the embrace. So yes, so even the bias, which is the makif harochik, has an agbola. It's not true pshitus boundlessness. Yechida ha'atzmis, it seems to be implying that there's two dagas in Yechida. Right? Chayil is makif. Usually we say Chai is makif hakarev. In Yechid is makif harochak. That's where it ends. That's the Wushan bias. Now he's saying in Yechid gufa, there's Yechid ha'atzmis. Chassidus often brings Chamisha Shemis Nikru Lo. Lashon HaMedrash. These 5 Lashonos come from the Medrash, amazingly, not Kabbalah. So the Lashon is that the Neshama has 5 names. Implicit in that phrase is that even Yechid is not Etzem Neshama. He calls it here Yechid Atzmis. So Yechid Atzmis, Yipchinas Pshitas HaNeshama, this is the Pshitos. Yem Pshitas means Poshet, divested of any tzir, any form. It's completely beyond Koiches Apnim, and removed from them. It has no connection, and has no effect at all on them. Completely beyond, because completely beyond any kind of tzir. So there's no relationship between the etzem and the shona and the koiches pnimim. Of course, that's the point of h'tשכ. But externally, as we observe it, and that's what to appreciate this, it's completely beyond. If I remember this correctly, yesterday, this is a snapshot of Crown Heights. I'm buying a hat. So in the store is a younger man who was also coming to buy a hat from California. He's a businessman. His name is Shapiro. I forgot his first name. It's Nachman Shapiro, son, maybe the oldest. So, I don't know if he's the oldest or not. Anyway, he's a businessman in California. But Levi tells me afterwards, this guy is doing. He was telling stories of film people, film that he put on. Was very. So then he says this following, if I can get it straight, between Malchus and Moishe. I'm going to think it through before I share it, but it's this paradox that Malchus is fundamentally beyond. Malchus is beyond everyone, but embraces everyone. Moishe crushes everyone, not embraces. But I'm just thinking something here than Moishe here. It's also beyond. It's really this nakud over here. The etzem, dafke, embraces everything. That's h'tשכ, friends. The kavana pnimi is the deepest expression of it. The most exquisite and articulate expression is in the Maimon of h'tשכ. Everything is there. So if we understand that well, we'll understand we have a real foundation for everything. I'll try and remember the nuances. I'm missing some detail. See, friends, if you hear something, you don't rethink it right away. That's a trick to remembering. When you first hear it, rethink it. So after we learn, anytime, if it's from here straight to boom, but if there's a few minutes to just review in your mind, where you just learn, the chance of remembering it are far greater. I'll call upon him, so let's go further. So the etzem is moved on him. It would appear that ein shayches alei and vein pe'eles ben klal no shayches. How could that which is absolutely poshut b'tachlis abshitas have a connection to any kind of limitation? Koiches pnimim. Or the loikum may makif ant the neshama, not like the makif of neshama, which is classic yechida, or the lower level, the rotzen, the chaya. Shemeir peil gam b'koiches ha'pnimim, it illuminates and it affects and manipulates and so on. Kamei, for example, gives an example of this. This is also Maimon of h'tשכ. It hurei tshuva shalei from adam pisayim. Person gets out of nowhere thoughts of tshuva. He hasn't prepared for it. He hasn't been thinking about it, not intellectually, not emotionally. It's the makif is stirred, the deep levels in the shom is stirred, the makif level, and therefore there's a tremor on a conscious level, like the Maisa with Daniel's Chavedim. We need the Mazlayo Chozi is the level of mazel. Mazel means a level that only just drips down below, but it's beyond it. Because But so Daniel's friends trembled. They didn't know why they were frightened, but they were. Because the makif which felt this is in a state of agitation, so everything is shaking up in the koiches pnimiyim. So it affects. But Yechid is the etzem completely removed from koiches pnimiyim. That's not a lavush, not even a lavush of bias, which we pointed out is somewhat tailored to the human condition. So Mashenkim Chnis Yechid Medel Zagan Lechele and means the etzem Yechid. So the ein the Shaykh is koiches pnimiyim klal has no connection at all. Lechele. And yet the paradox. What's the paradox? Let's continue. The paradox is that that's the kavanah. The kavanah is to reveal this etzem, atzmis dike, pshitis dike level where in koiches pnimiyim and cause thereby this the ultimate fusion of pshitos and akbola and limitation. That's how the whole thing, this whole ice begins, right? That menucha shleima she'ata reitzeba she'ata, where pshitus and giloy are all one. Who is mamshich that? Yidden. Why? Because Yidden are mushrish in this atzmidik level where that can happen. As he goes on to explain now, because right now he just said there's no connection. From the etzem to the pratim, there's no connection. So let's continue. זהו גם שהשרוס בחינס היחיד בדלת אמס דווקא. It's a big paradox, and I'm expecting the paradox. What's the paradox? That where's the yechid of the etzem of the person manifest, not in halacha. Now, it's a medidik in the Kudah that the Rebbe addresses, if you remember. I think we learned it in Yonash HaTeres HaChassidus, if you recall, at the end of that classic. Did we learn it years ago? We did. Should learn it again. Everybody should learn it again. So in Yonash HaTeres HaChassidus, at the end, the last ois, if I'm not mistaken, the second last ois. Last ois. So there he explains this medidik halacha. So let's just address it briefly. And that is the chachamim u'mesakim. It's a takanas chachamim that the dalad amos of a person is koine. And koine, that means to say that if you're in a reshus harabim and there's an object within the radius of your 4 amos, you acquire it. You acquire it. Why were they misakin it? In the simple level to avoid conflict, people pouncing on objects and getting into quarrels and into strife. So before you even get close, before you reach out to it, you're going to right away. And there's no. It's a takanas chachamim. You know what, I need to look out the original there. So the mice like this, that the takanas chachamim, but what's the foundation of it? It's out of the blue, dalat amos is kaina. It's midin chotzer. Chotzer. A person's property acquires for him. There's all kinds of halachas when it comes to the chotzer. You're not going to get. If the get is received in the woman's reshus, in her property, so she's divorced. But there's all kinds of pratim, has to be enclosed. And if it's not enclosed, she has to stand by it and articulate, I want my chotzer, to acquire it. Yet here, in this takanas chachamim, even though it's medin chotzer, the person acquires it, it's open, and he doesn't even have the intent. So it's a shayla tzuma. So the chachamim will mesake this takana in order to avoid conflict. They granted a person the ability to acquire something by dalat amos. They went even beyond the normal parameters of the laws of a chotzer. It's got to be enclosed, and if it's not enclosed, you have to be standing. Mind you, even if it's enclosed, you have to be standing by it. If I'm not mistaken, you have to stand next to it. And if it's not enclosed, you have to be next to it and express, I want this area which I own to acquire for me, then it acquires. When it comes to this object, it's hefker. So how is it that the person Dalet Ames acquire it with absolutely no hakbolus at all, not even awareness? So the Rebbe says in Yonash Teres HaChassidus, so here's an example where the Bir al Chassidus answers, al pi nigla. There's a few times like this in the Kutei Sichos and in my Modim, where an Inyan in nigla is just kind of mystified, but al pi Chassidus is understood. So what's going to come out over here, which we'll revisit Be'ez Hashem tomorrow, in the dinim of Eiduvin and other things, the paradox that the Yechida, the Etzem, the fundamental I of the person, is expressed not even within himself, but in a radius outside of himself. This is all because of Dira B'Tachtonim. Because the Eibush says Etzem is Dafkin, is revealed Dafkin the Tachton, and as he says in Yonash Teres HaChassidus, and therefore it acquires an object that wasn't his and now becomes his. That's all Dira B'Tachtonim. But the Eibush wants us to reveal him in his creation that seems completely disconnected from him, denies him, ignores him, conceals him. This is where he wants to be revealed. So this object, in the words of the Sikh over there, is why does a person acquire an object? It's all part of the elevating the sparks. That's the point of the acquisition. It's his now, and by him acquiring it, that's the process of elevation. So what we're saying is that the etzem of the person is expressed in the tachten, dafke outside of himself, in the acquisition of an object which he had no connection to or brought to. Now becomes intimately his. This is mamish the model of Dira B'Tachtonim. And therefore, he doesn't have to be aware, doesn't have to know, because it's not rooted in Seichel. Nis'ava Kodesh Baruch is not a Seichel thing, it's not a Midas thing. Nis'ava is rooted in Atzmos. Therefore, the halacha is, you don't have to have the awareness, you don't have to say, I'm acquiring it, it falls in you, that you have walking by and see Daladamas, it's yours. If it's a hefker object. Because this expresses Atzmos, the Eibishter's whole, everything. His desire to create a tachten, external and division, it's not, no connection to him, and reveal that it's his, and it's all him in the deepest way. We're getting a sense of this, friends. Yeah, so tomorrow we'll revisit. Yes? Yeah? Not far, that's what we learned in the Sikha there. We'll get a sense of this when, and we'll learn more of this tomorrow, Be'ez Hashem. Funny story. What did I'm trying to remember the words of the Ingerman. It'll come to me. Horrible. It will come to me. It was so engrossed in the discussion with him, very animated. They walked out of the store without paying. I bought myself a hat and maybe a hat. Hello. And you know what this guy said? And he meant it. I'll pay for it, go. He's a shliach and he signed it. It's okay, we'll pay for it. He like saying, not pay for it, go. It's 2 hats. I'm saying they're not cheap. Snapshot of a discussion in this hat hall, hat store, Grand Heights. Beautiful. Something else we were talking about was, I don't know how we got into this discussion. So I'll share this with you. What he said and what we shared. It's a ktas pella. I've always noticed this. There's no 2 pictures of the Rebbe that are the same. It's just very. Have you ever noticed this? And sometimes it's very dramatic a difference. And we're not talking in years, decades difference. And that's for sure. But even Stamazai. So he was saying that he was saying this to his father. His father, Mashpir, says, yes, born Chassidus. He said like this. This is interesting. In Hebrew, in English, the word for face is face, facade. And facade means the face that you place, that you show, is not necessarily what's going on inside. Adarabah, facade means that what's going on inside is not expressed. That's the Hebrew, the English term for face. But in Torah, ponim, the face expresses the pneumius, or it should. So he was saying was that by a tzaddik, it's mentioned by tzaddikim, that the face is constantly changing because it's affecting the different matzovim and avodas Hashem, etc., etc. I just added to that. It's also expressing, it's all part of it. Klal Yisrael. What's happening by Klal Yisrael it defines him. It's two ways. He's constantly being mashpia, whatever's required for Yidden at that time, for both Klal Yisrael and the individual, so therefore the countenance changes. It's subtle, but it's a change. You can see it, even with the naked eye. It's not just mitzad that he's being mashpia, different in yonim at different moments. Shachris is mincha, ma'id, Hashanim, Kippur. Every moment is a new tziduf. Every moment a different moment. It's a new tziduf of the Shem Rabbi, Shem Adnai, and the Chodesh is new Chodesh, and the years and new years. Every moment is all radical new thing. It's not just inside the Ashpor, it's also with the Yidden, the Matzah of Yidden that affects him. Begashtim, we saw that after that, when the whole Mi Yehudi thing came, everyone went white overnight. So it's both ways. So this is because we're talking about Malchus. That Malchus, on the one hand, is fundamentally removed. Everything is equal, but it's intimately connected to the people. Whereas the Moishe, who forces his rulership on everyone, is bound with none of them. His presence, this is maybe wasn't good, the dictator, the ruler, he's constantly, his pressure of him on the populace to quell rebellion. So he, in one hand, he's much more involved in the melech, that's bisnasas lagamri. So he's constantly involved with them, but it's crushing them, and involved but not connected. And the true melech, which has come from the people, who doesn't force it and never does, is connection is the most intimate connection. I'm still missing something here, but that's part of it. Okay, so today's story, this is also a story of buying a hat in Crown Heights.